Hello, my friends. This is Dwight from Forest Glory 700. Just wanted to share a thought with you regarding sensitivity training. Sensitivity training. What is that exactly? What is sensitivity training? Well, I'll tell you what it's not. Uh, what it's not, it has nothing really to do with sensitivity whatsoever. It has everything to do with the emasculation of men. And let me share a thought with you. When I was in college, I went to this community college and I was taking a counseling course. And the ratio for men to women, I'd probably say was 30-70 men to women. So you had predominantly women in this counseling program I was taking. And one of our classes, I don't believe they called it sensitivity training, but it most definitely was that. And in the class, the instructor gave us very minimal instruction, really. We sat in a group, there was about maybe 20, 25 students in that class, and we all sat in a circle. And like I said, there was no instruction given in terms of what was to be done, other than anything that was to be addressed in that class was supposed to be addressed in the present. So there was no specific subject that was given. You were sit in a circle and basically you'd stare at one another. And at some point, someone would say something to someone else, and that would be sort of how the whole process would begin. So we all sat in a circle for the first class, and the first few classes, not much occurred, but it really picked up after that. But again, there was no specific subject given, and you sat there, and you looked at one another. And again, there was no specific subject given. Anything that was addressed was supposed to be in the here and now. And, for some people in the group, the deafening silence and the sort of the not knowing what to say or what to do eventually got to some people to the point where someone would make a comment like they might see a classmate across from them and say, "Oh, I like your dress," or "I like your shirt," or "I like how you did your hair," or something of that sort. And then maybe that student would respond in kind and say something complimentary to that other person. Or someone that's observing the interaction between the two individuals may also observe someone else's reaction. Maybe someone's snickering or someone's laughing or what have you. And then that person might say, "Well, you know what? So and so, I was a little taken aback. I was somewhat offended when you snickered, or when you made this or when you reacted that way." Or they may ask, "Well, why did you react that way? Why did you snicker? Why did you smile?" And, depending on the response that person gave, then that would go off into a particular course of action. So it got to the point where everybody was critiquing everyone else and in relationship to how they were feeling, right? And it just got crazy, because especially for the guys, because men are generally speaking known for not being as sensitive as women. So I remember for myself, because there were certain individuals in the group that they never said anything. They just sat there the whole time. They never said a word. They just sat there. And I kind of thought to myself, "Oh, I'm going to encourage them here. I'm going to be the one that sort of presents an argument, in such a compelling argument, in such a way that they will be more than happy to participate in this process." So I compared being involved in taking a chance or taking a risk in this process as a sporting event, where you're one of the players on the team and you're participating in the game, and you're participating in the objective of your team winning the game. And I encourage people to be more a participant in terms of being a player than a spectator who's sitting off on the sides actually watching the game. So I said it in a way that I thought was absolutely beautiful. I just thought, well, they're going to love me for this, because I just opened up the doors for them to, get involved, to be a part of the actual game, not just a spectator. And I felt really good. I just felt like I just did a wonderful deed for those individuals that were not participating, as far as I could tell. And they never got involved. They never said anything. They just sat there and they kept quiet. And the following weeks, a huge snowball effect. And I got lambasted, man. They literally crucified me. I was like Jesus. They literally crucified me out there. And it was all women, right? Us guys, we never generally went after each other, because it was like, whatever. You know what I mean? You say something, you leave it at that. Who cares? And I got completely annihilated, to the point that my words were intended to be an encouragement, and people were taking, or these women were taking great offense to what I said, and how insensitive I was to the individuals that had their own reasons for not being involved, and this and that and what have you. And of course, that was not my intention whatsoever. And to be totally honest with you, I thought the whole thing was absolutely overblown. And I wasn't the only one, but there was other males as well that they got it. I mean, us guys, like I said, it was like a ratio of 30 to 70. And so most of the guys, I don't recall any guy really getting all upset or being bothered by anything that someone may have said. You may have snickered or laughed, or, you just kind of just said what a guy would say, right? And move on. Let's move on. Okay, say what you got to say. You said it, now let's go. And no, this thing went on for weeks, right up until probably the end of the whole process, right? And so this was sensitivity training. It was all about feelings, and it was all about being sensitive towards the feelings of others, and how you have to be really considerate and really think about what you're about to say even before you say it, because you might offend somebody. And again, because it was a counseling program, it was the whole idea that you got to be able to use your words in such a way that you minimize as much as possible the possibility to offend. And, at the end of the day, I realized no matter how many attempts you make not to offend, depending on the individual, there's gonna be an offense. And looking at that program, we're talking like 2018 now. I think I took that program like about 16, 17 years ago, long time ago. And I learned a bit from it, but in hindsight, I'll be straight up honest, it was pure bullshit. It was, I think it was some kind of feminist agenda, to be totally honest with you, some kind of feminist agenda, because that kind of stuff really appeals to the mindset of women. That's how women in general, not all women, but in general, that's how women think. Women are, generally speaking, a lot more in tune with their emotions. They tend to be a lot more sensitive in regards to what they're about to say before they say it. Now, they had men in this group, me being one of them, and we were being reprogrammed, as it were, to learn to think differently. Not to think as men, because really that's what it comes down to. It's, okay, you men think in a particular way. You need to change your course of action of how you think. You need to think more like women, because we understand better than you men do. And fast forwarding now to 2018, at my workplace, we even have sensitivity training. If you happen to offend a customer for whatever reason, and if you don't seem to understand or agree why your actions may have offended them, you're going to be required to take some kind of sensitivity training, which is really some feminist propaganda BS, because it is. That's what it is. It's some feminist nonsense. And I find that men now are becoming more and more, as the term has grown to become emasculated, where men are no longer allowed to be men. We can't be men We can't think as men. We cannot conduct ourselves as men. We need to conduct ourselves more like women, because women are more civilized and more understanding, and are more equipped and are more qualified to deal with conflict and conflict resolution than are men. And so now a lot of the programs and a lot of things that are going on in our politically correct society is geared towards minimizing men and the influence of men and uplifting women. Now, I'm not saying I'm against women or uplifting women. Of course, I'm in favor of uplifting women, but certainly not at the expense of men. I believe men and women, we have roles. I know it's not a popular thing to say in our political correct age, but men and women, we think differently and we conduct ourselves differently and we understand differently, and that's okay. But when we come together, we complement each other. But a man has to be a man, and a woman has to be a woman. Now we're living in a day and age where you got terms like men are metrosexual, where men take as much, if not more time, getting dressed up and doing their hair and making sure that everything is in perfect place before they leave to go to work, or they leave to go on a date, or they leave to do anything. They're competing with women to look glamorous. Women are supposed to look glamorous. Men, well, we just got to look like men. I'm not saying we have to look like scruff or garbage, but when we're competing with women to look as good as women, there's a problem. So, we're living in this day and age where men are being called upon to conduct themselves more like women. And we're seeing that more and more in our society, where you're not a real man, apparently, if you're not in tune with your feelings, if you're not completely sensitive in a way that would identify that you are a woman. It's completely insane. I'm a guy. I think like a guy. I conduct myself like a guy. My wife is a woman. She's a woman. She thinks like a woman. She conducts herself like a woman. And that's it. But it's getting so crazy now that men are being emasculated to the point that some would make the argument that it's better that men become women. And now you're getting men, that are dressing as women, conducting themselves as women, exhibiting characteristics that are, generally speaking, more reflective of how women would conduct themselves or the way women would think. And I see this as an enormous problem, but it's part of a bigger global agenda. And it is really about the emasculation of men, and it's about gender neutrality, because that's really a huge thing now. It's about, there's no genders anymore. There's no male, there's no female, there's no more boy or girl. It's just, you got to remove all of these obstacles, as it were, that's keeping mankind, I shouldn't have said mankind, people kind. And I think our fearless leader, Justin Trudeau, said that once. Someone had said mankind, and he said, no, we don't go there. We're people kind. Okay, people kind. We're not mankind. We're people kind. Get it together. I mean, that to me was just an absolute joke. But that's the direction we're going. When you have the leader of Canada correcting someone for saying something in the correct manner, that no, that's no longer acceptable. We don't use that usage of word no longer. It's archaic, and it's offending to women and to other people that may identify as whatever. It's just gotten so ridiculous now. But even in the workplace, you got to be careful now, because you got issues regarding gender neutrality, transgenderism, you name it, and you need to be very respectful and sensitive of the views of other people. And so if they identify as one sex or another sex, even though they're biologically this particular sex. You got to be sensitive towards that, and you got to fall in line, which is part of the New World Order, the system of the beast. You got to fall in order, and you got to align your thinking with the system. And what the system dictates is whatever we determine to be truth, that is what you will now accept as truth. So anyways, the emasculation of men through sensitivity training and through the glorification of feminism and feminist thought is running amok. And as men, we gotta be men, plain and simple. There's a new movement, which is not really that new, but it's new as of the last 3 or 4 years, called MGTOW, men going their own way. And men are starting to see that, look, we're really under attack, whether you're a white male, a black male, a brown male, an Indian male, whatever male you happen to be. There's a real push now to remove men from roles of power and to replace them with women. And I know this is all part of a bigger agenda, but I'm just hoping that there are men out there likewise that recognize, you know what, I'm not about this. I'm a man, and I'm happy to be a man, and when I'm with a woman, I'm happy that she's a woman, but I don't want a woman to be a man, and I don't want a man to be a woman. But to say that now is offensive and requires you to take the necessary reprogramming and sensitivity training to get your thoughts in alignment with the greater society. Because whatever the government dictates to be the truth, guess what? That's the truth. We're living in very interesting times, my friends. Anyways, if you have any thoughts on this, please, by all means, leave a comment or share whatever your experience has been. But this is all part of the system of the beast, the New World Order, and it's only going to get crazier from here. Anyways, this is Dwight from For His Glory. Have a great day. Goodbye.